So the topic for today's video is flowers. And I know you're actually not interested in these flowers, though I do think they're quite pretty. Or the flowers that are all over the ground, which also can make quite a statement. But the real interest for most people who are looking at this channel are mango flowers. So let's go see what's blooming. On our tour is Dwarf Hawaiian, and there's flowers at all stages on this tree. This one's just emerging, and here's a flower bud here. It's differs from a leaf bud in that it's fatter. And of course, we've got this is another Dwarf Hawaiian tree. We've got older flowers on the top of the tree there. Yep, just a whole bunch of flowers all over. Of course, Dwarf Hawaiian is like our second earliest variety to fruit, so having a lot of flowers early on in the season is pretty typical for this variety. So this is Jakarta, and there's some really nice flowers right up here, all through this section of the tree. This tree is Rosa, and we noticed some flowers on one section of the top of the tree more than a month ago, and now there's pretty much the whole top of the tree is covered with flowers. And that's very typical for the mangoes to have the flowers on the top of the tree first, and then the ones on the sides will emerge a little bit later. But yep, very strong flowering for Rosa. For the tree you can see a little fruit. That's from the first flowering. That particular fruit looks a little yellow, and so I think it's going to drop off. So this is Edward here. A lot of flowers on the top of the tree, a little bit on the sides also. But that's a very nice amount of flowers for Edward. So here's some Edward flowers at the bottom of the tree, and they are looking really good. Of course, there's a lot that can happen between the time you see good flowers and the time you get your knife and fork out. But this is really a good indication. If the weather stays good for us in the next few weeks, then we should get a pretty good fruit set from the Edward tree. Looks like a lot of healthy bloom at the moment. Here's Julie. Julie is a pretty darn good flowerer. It's just often it doesn't set much fruit, but we have a lot of nice flowers emerging on this particular tree, and everything's looking very healthy at this point. You know, it's one of those things, you see the flowers, they look good, but not only do they have to be pollinated and set fruit, but then you have to wait through like 4 months of weather and such before you can actually eat the fruit. So we're hoping that we have wonderful conditions and have a great crop in 2018, but we'll just have to wait and see. Here's Nam Dak Mai. And you can see there's a lot of bloom spikes at the top of the tree. It's a little bit in other parts of the tree, but this section of the tree is really good. here's Pim Sengman, and at the top of the tree there's some nice blooms starting. So this is one of our carry trees. A lot of our carry trees have not begun to flower yet, and this one has. It's right on the top of the southeast side of the tree. So this is Pollock here, and last year we got very few Pollock mangoes. This year we've got quite a lot of bloom up here on the top and on the sides, so hopefully it'll be a good Pollock year. Sort of fun. This entire row here is blooming. It's the westernmost row on this side of the grove, so that might have something to do with it. Maybe getting a little bit more of the cold wind coming this way. But we have a lot of carry bloom here, and up here is a Gary bloom, quite a bit of Gary. And then we have some Namdak Mai here. So we have a bunch of trees all in a row that are blooming on this section of the grove. So it's still November. Typically the flowering in the mangoes starts in December and goes into January. So this is a little bit early. We showed you every tree in the grove that has flowers on it, every mango tree. And there's quite a few more than there were last time that we noticed some flowers. So that's great. I expect the rest of the trees to flower as long as the conditions stay good. As you might know, a lot of our varieties did not flower last year, so we're hoping for extra good crop from them this year. Only time will tell though. 120 days between flower and fruit. Lots can happen, and we hope it all goes well.